Number 980, Nikita wants to use the area of the squares in the figure at right to find the lengths of the sides of a right triangle. A says to find the missing area. Well, you can see in this diagram that we are given the area of the hypotenuse and the area of one leg. So we know what we talked about in the last lesson was that Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And these units are already squared. So what I could do if I wanted to write an equation is I could do 16 plus b squared equals 20. Now 20 has to go in for c because c is always the hypotenuse and this has the largest area. So we're going to subtract 16 from each side. So we're left with b squared equals 20 minus 16, which is 4. So the missing area, or the area of this box here, is 4. We're going to say 4 units squared since it is talking about area. Area is always squared. All right, the next part B, what are the lengths of the legs of the right triangle in Nikita's diagram, and how do you know? All right, so I know, first of all, that when I'm talking about legs, that means the two sides that are not the hypotenuse. So this side and this side. Those two are not the hypotenuse. So the side here with an area of 16, to find that, we need to figure out, well, what times what gives us 16? Or we could do what is called the square root of 16. And to put this into your calculator, what you're going to do is just hit that square root button, which is like this, and then you'll put in 1/6 for 16. On the TI-34, you're going to have to scroll out from under the square root bar and then hit enter, and it will give you 4. All right, so one length is 4 units, and that's because, again, the square root of 16 is 4, or 4 times 4 is what gives us 16. Now, we need to figure out the length of this side. So we know here the area is 4. So we're going to go ahead and take the square root of 4. Again, to put this in your calculator, you're going to hit that square root button, 4. Then you're going to scroll out from under and it gives you 2. Or maybe you knew just by looking at it that 2 times 2 gives us 4. So our lengths are 4 units and 2 units. Those are the lengths for the legs of the triangle. All right, finally, part C asks us about how long is the hypotenuse. Are you able to find the length exactly? Explain your reasoning. So the hypotenuse is that longest side across from the right angle. It's always C, it's always directly across from that right angle. So, you know, if we're doing this without using the square root symbol, what we could say is, well, I know that the square root of, I know that the square root of 16 is 4, or I guess we could say 4 times 4 gives us, actually, let's do 4 squared gives us 16, and 5 squared gives us 25. So it looks like 4 squared is too small, 16 is too small, because we're trying to get to 20. All right, now 25 on the other hand is too large because again, we're trying to get to 20, not 25. So for this problem, make sure you wrote down what I wrote. I'm going to erase now to give myself just a little bit of room. So what we could say then is that the length, we'll say the length is somewhere between 4 and 5 because 4 squared equals 16, which we said was too small, and 5 squared equals 25, which we had mentioned was too large. So it's somewhere in between those. We also have to add that it is not an integer, and we know that because it has to be between 4 and 5. So anything that's between 4 and 5 is not going to be an integer. It's going to be a decimal or a fraction of some sort. Okay, and that is all for 980.